These are my 5 best back exercises for Jiu-Jitsu. Now let me preface this. There's no such thing as a best exercise, these are just some of my favorites. And secondly, this is in no particular order. These are just some of my favorite exercises I'm sharing with you. So we're just gonna get straight into it. Before that, make sure you check the link in the description. There is the Jiu-Jitsu Strength Conditioning Blueprint. It is completely free. It'll take you through everything you need to know about making your strength and conditioning for Jiu-Jitsu effective. So let's go to the first exercise, the sandbag bear hug carry. Now there are many different variations of a sandbag carry. For example, a Zercher carry with the elbows in front, a fireman's carry with the sandbag on your back. And then you have multiple ways of bear hug carrying a sandbag. And this is one of the reasons why I feel it's such an effective exercise for Jiu-Jitsu. You get to use the same grips as you would when you're grappling. For example, you can still gable grip the sandbag. Depending on the size of the sandbag, you can butterfly grip it. And for a real challenge, you can monkey grip it where your hands don't even touch and you're having to pull the bag into you with no connection. While that focuses on the grips, when we're talking about back development, in Jiu-Jitsu, you're having people paw on the back of your head or try and break your posture and crumple your neck and spine so they can take advantage of the positions they're in. If your opponent cannot break your posture, you become much harder to sweep or to have techniques set up on you. Being able to carry a heavy sandbag and maintain a tall posture is going to carry over to make you harder to crumple during Jiu-Jitsu. Now, typically when you're doing a sandbag carry, I like to do them near the end of the session, typically doing 1 to 4 sets. You're either going, say, max distance, max time, or you're going a set distance with a heavy or challenging weight for multiple sets. You can vary the grips depending on the sandbag. You just want to carry something heavy. So exercise number 2, one of my favorites, the snatch high pull. I'm a big fan of weightlifting derivatives for grappling arts because you get to move relatively heavy loads quickly. It ends up being a ballistic force time curve, meaning you have an acceleration of the bar and you don't have a deceleration through the end of the movement like you do with traditional lifts. Now the snatch high pull is much easier to perform and learn than performing, say, power snatches, power cleans, or any other of the main variations because you don't have the catch phase. You remove some of the technical element, so you can just heave heavy weight basically. Now the snatch high pull you can do from the floor or from the blocks. Both variations are great, but the goal is to propel the bar vertically with your legs. The big mistake on doing weightlifting derivatives is people tend to use their back. Yes, while the back is heavily involved, which I'm going to touch on, you have to push with your legs so it becomes a full body movement as you propel the bar up. Now what makes it such a potent back builder is it's basically a heavy high pull. And if you know high pulls, you know the feeling and the burning sensation in your traps and your upper back because of what's working. Now think of doing that with weights that are 10 times heavier and you're having to heave the bar up while supporting that load, and just like the sandbag carry, you're having to maintain that chest up posture throughout the movement, otherwise it doesn't work. Again, if we come back to our Jiu-Jitsu, maintaining those tall postures are gonna make us harder to crumple. This is one of those exercises that will help you with that. If you can't do a snatch grip, you can use a clean grip, which would be just like a normal deadlift grip. And you're essentially doing a deadlift plus high pull hybrid if you wanna really break it down and make it simple. Typically, I like to do 3 sets of 3 to 5 reps. If I'm really looking just for a pure size stimulus, I'm gonna go 5 reps. If I'm looking to lift something heavier, I'm gonna go 3 reps. This brings us to the third exercise, a weighted chin-up or a weighted pull-up. Chin-up is just supinated underhand, pull-up is just overhand. You can also do neutral grips. Grips don't matter too much in the grand scheme of things, but the idea is that you're doing something weighted and pulling yourself up. The great thing about weighted pull-up variations is you're also strengthening the arms, which are very important in Jiu-Jitsu, as you know, for maintaining grips, chokes, etc. While the first 2 variations I mentioned, a more, I guess you could say, upper back erector focus around the spine, the weighted pull-up variations are more lat focused and involving more movement of the arms, shoulder blades, and elbows. So it'll give you a slightly different stimulus. Typically with the weighted pull-up and chin-up, I'm looking at 5 to 6 reps. For me, in my experience, that is the sweet spot that I've found. You can do anywhere from 2 to 5 sets of that. Fourth exercise, another one taken from Strongman, the farmer's walk. You're obviously familiar with this. You have other variations of farmer's walks too. You can use the suitcase carry, which is just in one arm, but farmer's walks work well. Now, typically, I don't like doing these with dumbbells. It becomes too grip limiting and just becomes a pain in the ass to walk with. If you have farmer's handles, then you're in the money. Most CrossFit gyms have farmer's handles. You can actually get farmer's handles relatively cheaply online. Just be careful because a lot of them are far too short and you just end up kicking the plates in front of you, and it's just no fun to use. So you need to make sure you get farmer's handles that are relatively long, so you're not gonna walk into plates. But again, you are challenging your grip at the same time, and you're having to walk and support heavy loads for long periods of time. Again, coming back to the idea of having to maintain postures. If you can maintain upright postures while walking with heavy loads, it becomes much easier to do that when someone's pouring on the back of your head. Same thing as the sandbag bear hug carry, 1 to 4 sets, max distance or max time, or multiple sets of a set distance with moderate to heavy load. And finally, to round out the 5 best back exercises for Jiu-Jitsu is a rowing variation, the one-arm dumbbell row. Now, in my experience, I don't believe you have to do as much rowing when you're doing a lot of what I would call support work with your back training. Support work, I mean some of the exercises that I mentioned, like sandbag carries, the snatch high pulls, the farmer's walks. When you're doing a lot of these and you're doing a little bit of vertical pulling, yes, you should do a little bit of horizontal pulling, but I don't think you need to do as much as maybe many people say that you need to do, even if you're doing a lot of pressing. But to cover this basis, I like the one-arm dumbbell row. And the reason is, one, it's typically easier on the lower back than say a barbell bent over row. You can easily load across the rep spectrum. You can do heavy sets of 5 to 6. You can do high rep sets of 20. With exercises like maybe the barbell row, it becomes a little more difficult to play across that spectrum just because of the lower back fatigue, the glutes and the hamstrings having to support that load. And the grip strength you'll gain on top of the back gains from doing one-arm dumbbell rows is unparalleled compared to say something like a traditional barbell row. Now, there are a few ways I like to do these one-arm dumbbell rows regarding sets and reps. I like to do 2 to 3 heavier sets when I'm talking specifically for building mass in the upper back. That's usually around 8 to 10 reps. And then I like to drop down on the final set and do 15 to 20 reps at a very, very heavy load. It ends up being a croc row. And if you don't know what a croc row is, it's essentially a heavy one-arm dumbbell row done for high reps with a load that you have to use body English and momentum to move. So it's not a strict 15 to 20 reps. It is essentially a heave. And yes, it goes against all the quote unquote form Nazis on YouTube and everything, all these fitness gurus and whatnot. But this has grown massive backs for many years and is a very effective technique. When you're doing the dumbbell row, there's a couple of different ways you can set up your stance. I like to do it standing, and I can just support myself with my hand in front of me on a bench or on my own knee or whatever it is. You can do it with one knee and one hand on the bench. That's another good option to use. I just like to do it standing. And there you have it. Those are my 5 best back exercises for Jiu-Jitsu. Now, if you want to see how you can now implement your conditioning for your Jiu-Jitsu, make sure you go watch this video right here, and that will cover everything you need to know about your conditioning.